Hello, fellow SoDo fans! Instead of our normal gameplay video, I thought a small discussion would be a better way to go about this video. I will still have some SoDo gameplay in the background from my shorter Wednesday stream where I did my first full dive into the new changes that created SoDo 3.0. These new changes have been, let's just say, a thing. I felt like we needed to discuss my thoughts on the subject. Full disclaimer though, Behavior has stated in a tweet that SoDo will receive more changes in a mini update in the same vein that Trickster did, I don't know if you remember that, in response to the community's voice about the whole thing. But with that out of the way, let's get started. As we all know, SoDo, or the Onryo, has just gone through her second rework in the past year. The previous, which I will take to calling 2.0, which changed her power to be more Condemn focused. The updates gave her a global spread of Condemn via teleport, significantly better TV cooldowns, and made holding the cursed VHS tapes a tightrope between safety and danger. This gave her a significant power boost over her original incarnation, or 1.0 for short, and created a bit of a divide amongst the SoDo community at large, as well as the Survivor player base. Across the board, the SoDo players I am aware of felt that with these changes, she lost her identity, and with it the skill floor of the character. To them, 2.0 was teleport to win, where if you weren't teleporting every time it came off cooldown, you weren't playing optimally. The term Noob Stomper kind of arose and was basically her label amongst the SoDo community, and because of it, many of them walked away from the character. For the survivors, it was absolutely brutal to keep up with a Condemn raising on every teleport, and many games usually ended with one survivor just couldn't keep it balanced, and usually in the first few minutes of the match, they were condemned. While I personally did see 2.0's power level as problematic, I will be one of the first to admit I quite enjoyed this version of her. Before you crucify me, let me explain. As a person with ADHD, my focus levels going into the game could be anywhere from whiffing every hit and not getting a single down, to perfectly tracking every survivor's Condemn level and tape grabs throughout the match. I cannot control what level of focus I have on any given match. I've tried. And 2.0's power level allowed me to relax more in the matches, and I could get away with playing some silly or downright nonsensical builds and still potentially see some success. Where 1.0 punished you hard for your mistakes, 2.0 punished the survivors for theirs. And it honestly felt significantly more rewarding whether you won or lost as her. Now, as a console player, I could not experience the PTB leading up to 3.0's release, sadly. Every day of the PTB, though, I would scour for videos, participate in discussions on the Discord, and I would devour as much feedback as I could that was left on Behavior's site in very cautious optimism for what seemed like an amazing set of changes. They decided to nix Global Condemn for more localized version centered on a 16-meter range of TVs, reminiscent of 1.0's capabilities mixed with the more global variant of 2.0. TV cooldowns remain 2.0's superior shorter period, and I couldn't believe it, but they removed the clunkiness of the teleport's cooldown. I wouldn't have been surprised if it stopped there, but the wizards conjured up more magic and threw in some bonuses. In 2.0, Reiko's watch had been shadow nerfed for no real reason other than what I assumed to be the engraving situation they did with Billy, where the statistics showed it was picked a little bit more than everything else. And they were adding some of the add-on as a base kit, as well as a brand new mechanic of locking in condemn progress on a hook. But in exchange for all these wonderful sounding changes, our VHS tapes became weaker. Survivors could now take out and deposit their tapes in an interaction that lasted a second. And there was no downside to holding a tape. There was no passive condemn of 1.0 and no condemn on hit of 2.0. They were free actions that only required that they deliver to the farthest TV, like 1.0's iteration. The last boon given to survivors was the ability to see TV auras when within the 16-meter radius. All really great sounding changes, as I've had many a match as a survivor where I've had to explain and show other survivors where the TVs were spawned so they could do their tapes. But again, as a console player, I experienced all these changes through others. Their words, their passion, their videos. And I've always held that experiencing things through others versus experiencing things yourself are vastly different, and so obviously I optimistically awaited for them to go live. On the days leading up to the live release of 3.0, Behavior did their customary final changes before the official release, and boy was it a doozy. In a witty quip, they mentioned that on the PTB, many Onryo players found that they could build more condemn on survivors by purposely teleporting to the wrong TVs, and so to reward this deviousness, they decided to give condemn itself a cooldown. Nothing major, just a 10-second cooldown in which you can still teleport again, but condemn will not be spread. They also decided that being able to lock in condemn progress on the hook was too strong, and promoted tunneling, so they dropped it to only being able to lock in 2 stacks per hook. Everything else, including the 1-second tape interactions, which was the only gripe on the many pages of feedback I read, that only one they all shared, stayed the same. This all seemed like a really weird backwards direction, considering all the SoDo players and the survivors I've talked to considered this a very well-balanced version of her power. So I decided to preserve my judgment, because written on paper is written on paper, and see where how things shaped up, and again, like I said before, till I got to experience it for myself. First day of 3.0's official release was my Digimon stream day, so I opted to wait till the next day. And during that time, the Discord servers flooded with people talking about their experiences playing with 3.0's kit, and honestly, no one had a good thing to say. Needless to say, I waited out the day, and on my Wednesday stream, I experienced 3.0 for myself the same way I tested 2.0. I started my matches off playing with no perks and no add-ons to get a feel for her base kit experience, and slowly worked my way up from weaker perk builds to stronger. During and after those matches, I internalized my experience and continued scouring threads and discussions to soak up what everyone's consensus was. I am by no means the strongest D&D player, nor am I the strongest Onryo player, and I do not sit at 9k plus hours. So take this all as, I guess, an Onryo main, and this is my thoughts on 3.0. Playing her at first felt weird. I felt like maybe I was too used to 2.0, but after a while, the feeling never really left. Being able to teleport felt really smooth, but the worry of a wasted teleport got increasingly more prominent, staring at the Condemn's red bar to fill up. Condemn stacks felt like a disjointed part of her ability, because of the cooldown and how quickly survivors remove their progress. If you've ever heard me talk about playing Ghostface on stream, you would have heard me say, I always end up just being Florida man with a knife. And honestly, the more matches I had as 3.0, the more I felt like Angry Ghost Girl Walking Simulator. Let me explain it. The TV interactions being so fast and cost-free meant that more and more survivors were turning TVs off on a constant rate. Which I'm not mad at, since that is the counterplay to Sadako, and should be the #1 priority of survivors. However, the frequency of the TVs going out meant I went through most of my matches never really having a TV available to teleport to when I needed it, and more or less ended up walking through the maps in every game. Now, you might have put 2 and 2 together, but every TV in a necessary location being off constantly also meant that I was rarely, if ever, getting a stack of Condemn on someone, since you need to be near a powered-on TV. This alone is rather frustrating, as that meant survivors were single-handedly turning off every single part of Sadako's power. Let's put it into perspective and say you play Nemesis, and they made it so if someone blinded a zombie or hit it with a pellet, you would lose that zombie for 2 minutes. But they also made it so the only way you're allowed to use Nemesis's whip to hit a survivor is if the survivor had been infected by a zombie beforehand. You would end up powerless and in chase as an M1 killer just about 80% of the match. But back on track, another issue I ran into in just about every match is the survivors being able to see TV auras. Again, a really good change, but the added benefit I didn't foresee was that you could almost never TP in front of a survivor, because now it's always immediately obvious where Sadako was going to come from off the teleport. I didn't realize how bad this was until I got survivors who managed to about face and gain distance off every single attempt to cut them off with the TP. It's like if Dredge put a glowing beacon on the warning sign on the exact locker he was teleporting to every single time. This put together with the fact that if you've ever played Sadako, you know she is not a chase-ending killer. She has demanifest, but that does not end chases very fast, especially if the survivor is paying attention. But this made every match feel like a marathon sprint to gain any real pressure. Perks can and will alleviate some of the pressure in the match, but unfortunately Condemn seems to no longer be on the menu unless you feel like playing extremely long matches of high intensity focus in a tug of war to keep every TV on the map off and maximizing every attempt at giving Condemn to a survivor. Or, God willing, you're against a group of potatoes. Cherish those matches. So where does that leave us? I am a Sadako main, but I am also a focused, challenged healer. I am tenacious and stubborn, and fog willing, I will keep working on 3.0 to find a way to play her comfortably in matches I can feel confident enough to make videos about. I am cautiously optimistic again about the announced changes coming in the future. As for 3.0, I do advise caution if you want to pick her up now, or you're a returning Sadako main, as you will have an uphill battle. I know many players have found a build that works for their playstyle, and it's looking like the way to play her now is to find that build that fits you. It does not seem like a one build fits all will work on this version of her, as each person struggles at a different parts of the game, and will need perks to compensate for that player's weak points. So experiment with what works, especially now that we can successfully run hook perks on her again. I love our Angry Ghost Girl, and I want to find a play to play her that doesn't leave me frustrated and feeling like I have no chance. If you've got to the conclusion, however, I thank you, and I truly, truly appreciate that you took the time to listen to someone rant about a character in a video game. I will continue to try putting out videos of our girl as long as I am able to, so if you want to continue the journey, there is a subscribe button somewhere down there. And if you feel like YouTube should push this out to more people, a like is also appreciated as well. But until next time, in the fog, I bid you adieu.